God is trying to warn you. Don't ignore this. If you're watching this right now, this is not a coincidence. There are moments in life when something deep inside you feels off, when things don't align, when doors begin to close, and when you feel a strange discomfort you can't explain. You try to ignore it. You try to move forward like nothing is happening. But the truth is that sometimes that feeling is not anxiety, it's not fear, and it's not even confusion. It's a warning. And today, God may be trying to get your attention. Not tomorrow, not next week, right now. Because what you ignore today could cost you tomorrow. There are people who wish they had listened sooner. People who felt it, sensed it, but pushed it away. They convinced themselves everything was fine. They silenced that inner voice and kept going in the wrong direction until everything fell apart. And the painful part is, it didn't have to be that way. God doesn't stay silent when something important is at stake. He doesn't just sit back while you walk towards something that could harm you, destroy your peace, or pull you away from your purpose. He speaks, he warns, and he redirects. But the problem is not that God isn't speaking. The problem is that most people are not listening. We expect God to speak in loud, obvious ways, like a voice from the sky or a dramatic sign. But most of the time, God speaks in ways that are quiet, subtle, and deeply personal. It can be a feeling you can't shake, a thought that keeps coming back, a door that keeps closing no matter how hard you try, or a sudden sense of unease about a person, a decision, or a path. That's how God often warns you. But instead of pausing and reflecting, we push forward. We tell ourselves, maybe it's just me. We say, I'm overthinking. We convince ourselves it'll be fine. And slowly, we walk right past the warning. There are different ways God tries to get your attention. Sometimes, it's through discomfort. You might be in a situation that looks good on the outside. It makes sense logically, and everything seems right. But deep inside, you feel unsettled. You can't fully relax. Something feels off, even if you can't explain why. That discomfort is not always negative. Sometimes, it's protection. God sees what you don't see. He knows what's ahead. He understands the consequences before they happen. And when something is not aligned with your purpose, when something could harm you in ways you don't yet understand, He places that feeling inside you as a warning. But many people make a mistake. They ignore the discomfort because the opportunity looks good. They ignore the warning because the relationship feels exciting. They ignore the signs because they don't want to start over. In doing that, they choose temporary satisfaction over long-term peace. Another way God warns you is through closed doors. Have you ever tried so hard to make something work, but no matter what you do, it just doesn't happen? You put in the effort, you pray, you plan, and you push, but the result is always the same: blocked, delayed, denied. And it's frustrating. You start to question everything. Why is this not working? Why is God not helping me? But what if God is helping you? What if that closed door is not rejection, but protection? What if God is keeping you away from something that is not meant for you? We often see closed doors as failure, but sometimes they are guidance. Sometimes they are mercy. Because if that door opened, it could lead you somewhere you were never meant to go. The truth is that not everything that looks good is good for you. Not every opportunity is from God, and not every path leads to purpose. That's why discernment is so important. That's why you have to slow down and pay attention. God also warns you through repetition. When something keeps showing up in your life again and again, it's not random. The same message, the same lesson, the same mistake, over and over, until you finally understand. God is patient, but He is also persistent. If you don't learn the lesson the first time, it will come back. If you ignore the warning, it will appear again in another form. Because He is trying to protect you, not punish you. He is trying to guide you, not control you. But He won't force you. You still have a choice, and that choice determines your direction. There are people right now who feel something is off in their life. You know it, you feel it, but you're afraid to face it. Maybe it's a relationship you know is not right. Maybe it's a decision you're about to make. Maybe it's a path you've been walking that no longer gives you peace. Deep down, you know the truth, but you keep telling yourself to ignore it because facing the truth means change, and change is uncomfortable. But staying in the wrong place is even more dangerous. The longer you ignore God's warning, the louder the consequences become. At first, it's just a feeling. Then it becomes a situation. Then it becomes a problem. Eventually, it becomes something that could have been avoided. God doesn't want you to learn everything the hard way. He doesn't want you to break before you wake up. He wants you to listen while there is still time. And maybe that's why you're here right now. Not by accident, not randomly, but because something inside you needed to hear this. So, the question is not, is God warning me? The question is, am I willing to listen? Listening requires humility. It requires you to admit that maybe you don't have all the answers. It requires you to slow down and seek guidance. It requires you to trust God even when you don't fully understand. And that's not easy, but it's necessary. Because ignoring God's warning doesn't stop the consequences, it only delays them. So what should you do? First, be still. Take a moment away from the noise, the distractions, and the pressure, and ask yourself honestly, what is God trying to show me? Second, pay attention to what disturbs your peace. God often speaks through peace, or the lack of it. If something constantly takes away your peace, don't ignore it, investigate it, and pray about it. Third, stop forcing what doesn't flow. If something requires constant struggle, stress, and confusion, it may not be from God. Because when God opens a door, there is clarity, alignment, and peace, even in uncertainty. Finally, trust Him enough to walk away if necessary, even if it hurts, even if it's hard, and even if it doesn't make sense right now. Because what God protects you from is just as important as what He gives you. One day, you will look back and realize that what didn't work, what didn't happen, and what didn't stay was actually saving you. Don't ignore the small nudges, the subtle feelings, the quiet hesitations. They are not meaningless. They are messages. God often uses the ordinary to warn the extraordinary. A conversation that unsettles you. An encounter that lingers in your mind. A path you thought was right but somehow feels wrong. These are God's gentle attempts to guide you before the consequences grow heavier. Life is full of choices, and every choice has a ripple effect. Ignoring the warning signs is like stepping into a storm blindfolded. It may feel manageable at first, but eventually the winds will grow stronger and the waves will threaten to sweep you away. Heed the warning while the waters are still calm and navigate with purpose rather than panic. There is power in reflection. When you take the time to pause and truly examine the path you are on, you allow God to illuminate what your eyes cannot yet see. He can show you the dangers hidden behind what seems attractive and the blessings disguised as challenges. Every closed door, every feeling of unease, every repeated lesson is a divine signpost pointing you toward wisdom, safety, and purpose. God's timing is perfect, even if yours is not. Waiting is not wasted time when it aligns you with the right path. Sometimes, you must let go of what you desire most to receive what you need most. Trust that the waiting, the confusion, and even the setbacks are orchestrated by a wisdom far greater than your own. Every day is a new opportunity to listen more closely, to hear the whispers of the Spirit in the ordinary, to notice the signs you might otherwise dismiss, to follow the gentle guidance that can prevent a lifetime of regret. God's warnings are not there to frighten you, they are there to protect you. They are His love in action, whispering to your heart, nudging you toward peace, purpose, and destiny. So, today, I urge you, listen. Listen deeply. Take the time to hear the whispers, the gentle nudges, and the subtle messages. They are God's voice reaching your heart in ways that are personal, timely, and life-saving. If this message resonates with you, don't let it stop at your heart. Share it with others who may be ignoring their own warnings. Encourage them to pause, to reflect, and to seek God's guidance. And if you want to grow in discernment, to hear God more clearly, and to live a life aligned with purpose every day, subscribe now. Because here, you are not just receiving a message, you are learning how to truly live by His word, and that can transform everything in your life.